one of the most important rules in all of horror films. Never say you'll be right back.
I'll be right back!
Scream 5, Scream 2022, whatever you want to call it. It's time to talk spoilers. You've got a little bit more time to leave this video if you haven't seen the movie yet, so I'm going to give you 5 seconds. Alright, so if you haven't left the video by now, that's your fault. I warned you that I'm going to be talking hardcore spoilers about the new Scream movie. If you don't want to see the spoilers, I'll give you one last chance. There's a spoiler-free review, pardon me, where I actually talked about what I thought about the movie without any spoilers. But this is all dedicated to the spoilers, so I'm gonna get right into it. Like I said in my spoiler-free review, if you watched it, if you didn't, I'll sum it up real quick. I really liked this movie. I thought this is the best Scream sequel we've ever seen in a franchise where all the movies are good. I've never seen a bad Scream movie. I wouldn't even say the show was that bad, honestly. I like everything Scream. Maybe I'm biased in that, but I feel like most people would agree that out of all the slasher franchises, Scream is the one that stays the most consistent quality-wise, and I think this movie delivered that, and it's honestly my favorite sequel. There's a lot of things I can see why people wouldn't like it, but a lot of the things people wouldn't like worked for me in this movie. This movie is gory as hell compared to the rest of the Screams. I also like the humor. I really am a big fan of Radio Silence's humor. I think they have the funniest jokes in horror movies that I've seen, especially Ready or Not. It's just dry and dark humor, and I absolutely love that. Like at the very beginning of this movie, with the cold open, you have the girl, and she's getting basically tracked down by Ghostface. And she's trying to lock the doors with her cell phone, and it's doing that whole locked doors, unlocked doors, locked door, like it's unlocking itself because Ghostface is unlocking it. And that worked for me. It's dark humor, it's dry humor, but it worked. I thought it was funny. I was the only person in the theater laughing at that part, and I knew it was supposed to be a funny part. I was laughing, though. Basically, the cold opening of this movie is a rehashing of the original Scream done for modern times. I thought it worked very well, except the main character doesn't actually die at the end of it. We did see a lot of the scenes in the trailer, which doesn't actually bug me in hindsight, because it was just the cold open, and the cold open really has no impact on the rest of the movie, per se. You'll see what I mean in a second. Basically, this girl named Tara gets attacked by Ghostface, and Ghostface says the whole thing of, I'll play a game and your friend Amber won't die, right? There's that whole thing on the phone. Ghostface ends up attacking Tara, which you know, ooh, twist, not really. We knew it was coming. And she doesn't die. She actually gets rescued by the police and taken to the hospital. Ghostface doesn't get caught. And then her sister, Sam, is forced to come down with her boyfriend Richie to come see her. Obviously, we're introduced to all the friends then. I liked all the friends in this movie. Let me go look up their names because I completely forget a lot of them. So for the friends in this movie, you have Tara, who's the main girl. Well, the main victim girl at the beginning. You have her sister Sam, which I mentioned. You have Richie, which is Sam's boyfriend. Then you have Wes Hicks. You have Amber Freeman. You have Chad Meeks. You have Liv. And you have another Meeks. I forget her name. Why is she not on this cast list? She was my favorite part of the movie, too. Mindy Meeks. So basically, as you're hearing the last names, a lot of these people are connected. So Mindy Meeks and Chad Meeks are obviously related to Randy Meeks. Randy Meeks is their uncle. If you remember Martha Meeks, that's her name, right? Martha, I think, from Scream 3. She's actually the mother of these two kids. So that's how they're connected to Randy Meeks, their uncle. You also have Liv, who's kind of just a random character. Amber, who I mentioned earlier. And then Tara Carpenter and Sam Carpenter are both related, and this is the craziest part. They are related to Billy Loomis. Well, actually, not Tara. Tara, to my understanding, isn't related to Billy Loomis, but Sam is the product of her mom and Billy Loomis having a kid in high school. So Sam has this whole battle throughout the entire movie of seeing Billy Loomis. And I thought that was such a fascinating thing because it was actually Skeet Ulrich. Like, Skeet Ulrich reprised his role as Billy, and it was just cool to see, and to have this character dealing with the fact that she is the daughter of a psychopath adds an extra layer to this movie that I quite liked. I'm getting a lot of likes on my Scream tweet right now. Go follow me at right here, at right there. I'll put the at right there. Yeah. So now we've introduced all the characters. Hicks obviously is related to Deputy Hicks, which is now Sheriff Hicks from Scream 4. I liked how they brought her character back. We'll go into her in a minute. Like I said, this entire movie is connected to the rest of the franchise, so everything from the previous movies is fair game in this story. Nothing's been rebooted, which is what I really liked about this movie. It's what I think Halloween should have done. Should have taken a little bit more from Halloween 2 and had the whole Michael Myers brother thing, but that's a different topic. So we have all these characters who are visiting Tara in the hospital, and Sam and Richie show up. Richie has never seen a stab movie, so he doesn't understand how bad the situation is for them, because Sam ran away from home once she figured out she was related to Billy, and didn't want to have herself be in Tara's life because she was worried about the impact on that, considering she stayed in Woodsboro. So then the father actually isn't the father of Sam. The father, I believe, is the father of Tara, but that's why the dad leaves the family, which is very kind of depressing once they rehash that, or not even rehash that, once they first open that up in the movie. There's this random guy who Kat calls Liv, which is Liv is dating David Meeks. What's his name? Why do I forget his name? I liked his character too. All the characters in this movie are great. How do I forget their names? Yeah, Liv is dating Chad. Liv and Chad are a couple, and you know, Liv has this weird guy she had a summer fling with back in the day, which he's related to. I need to just keep this cast list up at this point. The creepy guy is related to Vince Schneider. I don't know who he's related to. Schneider? I don't remember a character named Schneider. Basically, he's related to some victim of Ghostface in the past, right? Actually, Ryan, you're dumb. He's related to Stu Macher from the first movie, Billy's accomplice. And so Ghostface goes after this guy, the creepo that is stalking Liv, and kills him. Basically just another way to get another murder on her hands. And when that happens, it's like, oh, that's not good. So at the hospital as well, we're back to the hospital now. I'm all over the place with this. I do apologize. It's gonna be all over the place. Sam is with her sister Tara, obviously, and Sam, you know, leaves for a second to go take her medication. This is when we find out she has visions of Billy, right? And she's attacked by Ghostface in this room. So this is when a Ghostface directly attacks Sam. There's a whole phone call of, I know your dirty secret kind of thing. Almost felt like a Pennywise taunting scene, but worked, right? And her boyfriend was watching Netflix on his phone or something. There's a whole funny thing of, oh yeah, Mr. Netflix, what's your alibi, right? And, you know, Deputy or Sheriff Hicks comes in, questions them about the chase down and stuff. And it's just kind of this little thing to put you on the edge. Like, oh, this isn't good, right? And then after that, Sam and Richie decide we need to go talk to a professional. So what does that mean? They're gonna go see David Arquette, Deputy Dewey, my man. My man, I'm so happy he was in this movie. It made me so happy to see him again. For those who don't know, he's my favorite Scream character. He makes me happy. But yeah, they go and meet him. They talk to him like, hey, we need help. You've done this before. You've been stabbed 9 times. You can do this, right? And he's like, no, I can't. I can't help you. Kicks him out of the house. And then that's when he calls Sydney. And it reveals, oh, he hasn't talked to Gail in ages. Sydney's got 2 kids, though, which is cool. She's married to some man named Mark. I have since found out that this detective is Mark from the 3rd Scream movie. I hate everything. But Gail, he hasn't talked to in ages because they had a dirty, nasty breakup, which I'll go more into later because they do discuss it later, but I'm gonna leave it as it is for now. And he watches her on the morning show because she got her own morning show finally. Yay, Gail, got in your fame some more. And so he texts her instead of calling her, but he calls obviously Neve Campbell because who's not gonna call Sydney effing Prescott, in her words.
Do you have a gun?
I'm Sydney Prescott, of course I have a gun.
That's how she described herself. But yeah, after that, he has a change of heart. He tells them don't come to town. Obviously, they're going to come to town, whatever. But he has a change of heart and goes and helps these kids, right? So they all meet up at the Meeks house. This is when we saw Martha Meeks. I feel like I'm messing up that name, but I'm 90% sure her name is Martha. But they all meet up at this house, and this is when they start having the real hardcore meta commentary. I can see how this part doesn't work for people, but it worked for me. They talk about requels, basically how this killer is trying to make a movie to please the fans, right? This is when they start talking about the toxic fandoms that I mentioned in the spoiler-free, because there's this whole idea of all the Stab movies. Stab 8 was garbage, right? Stab 8 wasn't good, and the fans wanted to go back because it was like some meta commentary, or not meta commentary, like political commentary, which, you know, isn't wrong in a horror movie, they say, but it's wrong in a Stab movie, because that's not what Stab is for. Stab is for murder mysteries. And that's a good point. Like, it goes into the whole thing of this movie isn't trying to be anything elevated. This movie's trying to be a Scream movie. And, you know, it succeeds at that. And I like that little meta commentary there. That they go on the whole idea of toxic fandoms and how potentially Ghostface is a fan of the Stab movies and wants to make his own that isn't, you know, bad in his terms. But they have this whole discussion. This is when they, like, really lead you off track. Like, what if it's this character? What if it's this character? Could be you, Dewey. It's not Dewey. Duh, it's not Dewey. But they do it anyway. They say it for some reason. So then after this, they basically say, you know, some legacy character is going to have to die. And like I said, Sheriff Hicks is in this, the girl from the 4th movie. And her son is the other Hicks. What's his name? Wes Hicks. Yeah, like after Wes Craven, obviously. And so he comes home and he's like, hey, Mom, what's up? You good? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to go do something. And he goes, okay. So he hops in the shower. She's driving away. She gets a phone call. And it's from Ghostface. And Ghostface says, you know, I'm gonna kill your boy. You better not come back, because if you do, he'll already be dead. She's like, no, I'm gonna come back. And he says, okay. So she drives all the way home, and as you know, she's walking up to the house because she's worried that her son's dead. Ghostface jumps out of a bush and kills her. Like, you know it's gonna happen, but it's still good because it's Ghostface killing in broad daylight on the front yard of someone's house. And it was kind of sad to see Hicks go. I didn't really like her in Scream 4. I like the actress. I think she did a good job, but I just didn't like the character. But seeing her in this movie kind of go makes me sad. She was a jerk to Samantha though, so I guess I was less sad because, you know, I liked Samantha and I didn't want Samantha to be yelled at by Sheriff Hicks. But that's that. She's dead now. And her son doesn't see any of this for obvious reasons because it's Scream, you know? And he's in the shower, so he gets out. Oh, there's a whole joke in this about he's on the phone with Ghostface. And she goes, "How do you even know what my son's doing?" And Ghostface goes, "You ever seen Psycho?" That made me laugh. It's pretty funny. But he comes downstairs, he's setting the table and stuff. He hears a noise. There's these two, this part sent me laughing. It was so good. There's these two like build-ups to a jump scare. He opens a cabinet and you can't see what's on the other side of the cabinet. And then he closes it and nothing's there, but the music rises while he's opening stuff. And he shuts it, right? Okay, no jump scare. Then he goes to the fridge. He opens the fridge door so you can't see what's behind it. The music starts rising again, and then he closes it and the music stops. Nothing's there. It's like, okay, so he's not gonna die like that. And so you're at this point, you're thinking, oh, he's safe, because he starts walking to the front door, that's open a crack, and he's like, oh, he's gonna go outside and see his mom. No, he closes the door and locks it, and Ghostface is behind him. But this is when we see the real disgusting freaking gore. We saw some pretty gross stuff with that creep who got stabbed a bunch, like he was bleeding out his mouth. Okay, typical stuff. We saw the girl at the beginning get stabbed and slashed, but that's your typical stuff. Ghostface takes the knife and slides it into this guy's cheek. This is the guy's cheek right here. Ghostface slides it through. Like, you know how when you were a kid and you would take paper and you would fold it and then stab through the paper and then open the paper and you would see the pencil or whatever you were stabbing the paper with on either side? That's what this visual effect looked like. The knife goes through his cheek like he's slicing it open. It is brutal. It is very brutal. Not his cheek. It was his neck. Why am I saying his cheek? It goes through his neck. He takes out like the slice of neck right here. It is so intense. I don't know why I said cheek. Scratch the cheek. It was the neck. So yeah, now that kid's dead too. I kind of liked Wes. He was funny. He had a crush on Tara, but it didn't really matter. So I don't know why they included the detail. But Samantha sees the crime scene. She sees Hicks is dead, so she knows that Wes is dead. And that's when Gail comes up, because of course Gail's gonna be there. Gail sees Dewey. They have their whole little talk. This is when we figure out that Gail and Dewey had a bad breakup. Their breakup basically was that Dewey had a show in New York, or Gail had a show in New York, and Dewey went off with her. And they get to this show, and, you know, with this whole thing with the show, sorry, this is a lot to talk about at once. He basically was with her in New York for her show and couldn't take it anymore and wanted to go back to Woodsboro. So he just left one night, without telling her, like, come on, Dewey, come on. Of course, she's gonna be mad, and y'all basically break up after that, of course. But you can still see the kind of love there. You can still tell they do love each other, and you want them to get together by the end of this movie, basically. But yeah, they have a whole rekindled situation. Love Courtney Cox and David Arquette. They're great. They're great. I love them. Meanwhile, Tara's at the hospital. The lights go out at the hospital. Oh no, that's not good. Tara's sitting there, hearing noises outside. She goes out to the hallway. She's hurt, like, badly. She had a knife through the hand at the beginning of the movie. She had a knife to the gut. And there's this police officer who was watching her, who's down at the front desk. And it's like, you know, bloody neck, right? And so she breaks into this little room on the side. It's like, I'm gonna hide. And she hears noises. And she's like, oh, that's not good. And so she smacks this mystery person who walks through the door. It's just Richie. But obviously, Ghostface is behind Richie. So Ghostface knocks out Richie and starts chasing Tara. Meanwhile, Dewey and Samantha are driving over to the hospital to check on Tara because they couldn't get her to call. And she drops her phone. Tara drops her phone. And so Samantha's calling Tara, and Ghostface answers and goes, you get to pick one person to live, Richie or Tara. Who's it gonna be? And he's like standing over Tara, and it's terrifying. That was a bad joke. And basically Samantha's like pleading with him, please don't kill either of them. Please, I don't want you to. And she goes, well, you only got a few seconds. And she goes, well, I was just stalling for time. And the elevator opens up, and that's where Dewey and Samantha are. And oh my gosh, they basically shoot Ghostface at time, fight him. They grab Richie and Tara. They get out of there. But right before they're getting out of there, after Dewey, you know, has a whole fight and shoots Ghostface, and he goes into a little cabinet and's like knocked out. They're going to the elevator. It's like, come on, Dewey, get in the elevator. Dewey's like, no, I gotta go shoot Ghostface in the head because Ghostface You can't, he's not dead yet, right? And they go, oh crap, do we know? So he goes and he's about to shoot Ghostface. He's got the gun. He does a reloading scene, and he's going up there. And all of a sudden his phone rings, right? He glances down, and then all of a sudden Ghostface attacks. Ghostface stabs him. You're like, okay, well this is just Dewey getting stabbed. That happens in all the movies. No, Ghostface takes a second knife out of nowhere, sticks it in Dewey's back, and holds him, right, like this. So this is Dewey in the middle, holding him, and then drags up through his torso. Like, he slices Dewey through his torso. Dewey freaking dies. I kid you not. I almost cried. I almost cried in that theater because I was so sad that Dewey was the returning character who was gonna die. But man, was it a good scene. And Ghostface goes, "It's been an honor," after killing him. Oh, it was so good. Like, if there was any way for Dewey to die, I'm glad it was that way. I think it was stupid that he was gonna go on the elevator and then, last second goes, I gotta go shoot Ghostface in the head. But even with that stupidity, it was such a good way for this character to exit the franchise. Also, I realized I was recording with the wrong microphone for that, so hopefully I sound okay now. Gail and Sydney figure out that Dewey's dead. It's a sad moment. I don't think it was as sad as it could have been. Gail was really not that good at acting heartbroken, but I love Courtney Cox, so I forgive her. And Sydney comes in, being bad A Sydney as always. And this is when Tara, Richie, and Samantha do something that I haven't seen in a horror movie, which was very unique. They go, we're gonna do what the horror movie characters never do. We're gonna run. Like, it sounds like something I would say. That was literally how it was said in the movie. And that's my kind of dry humor, to where that's funny to me. I don't even know if that's dry humor. What kind of humor is that? Just bad, not even real jokes, but stupid humor, meta humor? I thought it was funny. So they're all leaving. Sydney's like, hey, it's gonna follow you. And they go, well, that's not good. And they leave. And so that's like, oh, so what's gonna happen now? Sydney placed a tracker on their car. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'll give them credit. It works. That's all I'm gonna give it credit for. It works. Basically, on the way out of town, Tara starts freaking out because she has asthma. I didn't talk about that at the beginning. She has asthma. It's shown briefly at the beginning and it's brought back later, right? And so they're like, oh, I need my inhaler. It's at my friend Amber's house. We can go there. And they're like, okay, let's go to Amber's house. The boyfriend doesn't want to. Boyfriend's like, no, that's how we die. But they do anyway. And then it's revealed, what's Amber's house? It's the freaking Stumacher house. Stumacher house. Yeah, so it's the original house from the original movie. And it's actually the original house. Like, they use the real house out wherever it is for the movie, which is such a nice touch. Thank you, Radio Silence. Oh my gosh, wait, I forgot my favorite scene in this entire movie. The boyfriend's trying to learn about horror movies, and he's watching a review of Stab 8, and James and Chelsea are sitting there. And it's for this YouTube channel, this fake YouTube channel called Film Fails, but it's James and Chelsea talking about how bad Stab 8 was. My life was complete with that cameo. I got so excited in that theater. I love James and Chelsea. But yeah, that was earlier. I just wanted to bring it back up. Anyway, back to the house. They figure out it's this house. There's a party going down all there. All the friends are there celebrating, their friend Wes's death. They're drinking, boozing it up as usual. And Liv and Chad are, drunk. And Liv's like, hey, let's screw upstairs. And he goes, no, that's how you die in a horror movie. And he's not wrong. And she gets mad, so she leaves the house for some reason. Doesn't make sense. And then you have Mindy, Chad's Chad's sister. Gosh, not girlfriend. Chad's sister. And she goes down with, Amber goes downstairs to grab beer, and Mindy scares her behind the fridge, and they have this whole thing of like, what if I'm the killer? Well, what if I'm the killer? Well, what if I'm the killer? And it's back and forth. It's funny, basically saying, don't go on your own downstairs to the basement. And so they leave. That was that scene. Kind of useless, but it was funny. But yeah, basically Liv left, and Chad's like, I'm gonna go looking for her, Mindy, because that's a good idea when there's a murderer running around town. It's not. He goes outside and gets like a text from Liv's phone. It's obviously a copy of the phone, and it says like, come find me, and it's a location tracker. If someone sends you a text randomly and they haven't been replying you, and it says, come find me with a location tracker, don't click it. Just don't click it. But he clicks it because why? Plot purposes. And he keeps going onward, and eventually there's this like really intense beeping on this. So it's like beeping as he's getting closer to where Liv's phone is, and it's just Ghostface, but the beeping was such a nice touch to the sound design. My friend Griffin leaned over to me and goes, yeah, no, I don't like the beeping. Why is it beeping? And I thought that was just, it was really intense and good. He's attacked by Ghostface. Ghostface is attacking him a ton, stabs him in like the thigh, and he's like about to die, and then these headlights shine on Ghostface, and you're like, oh, someone saved him. No one saved him. It was just Richie and them driving up, and they didn't see him. But Ghostface runs away, and spoiler alert, he does end up surviving the entire movie. He's taken away on an ambulance at the end, so that's good. At least I think that was him. Maybe that was someone else. I think it was him, though. So now Richie, Tara, and Samantha are all at this party now, and they go in. They're like, all right, everyone, there's a murder around. Everyone get out of the house. Felt stupid to me. I wasn't going to complain that much, but everyone leaves from the house except obviously the people who are friends, of course, because that's how this movie goes. And there's a bunch of stuff where Amber takes Tara upstairs to get her inhaler. Sam stays, just in the main area. Richie goes and talks to Mindy for a second and then goes and gets some beer. Mindy's watching Stab on TV. Oh, Mindy's trying to hook up with... This was funny. Mindy was trying to hook up with a girl, and when Richie's clearing out the house, he goes over to Mindy and this girl, and they're, like, making out. And he goes, get out. Like, just to this random girl. And I like how Mindy stays. Like, Mindy's just like, yeah, this is my friend. I'm going to stay at this house. But Mindy is my favorite character in the entire movie. She has so many one-liners throughout this that I couldn't even say that are funny. Like, she is the best part of the movie. And when she's talking about hooking up with this girl, the scene's so funny because she goes, Chad, don't ruin this. I'm about to go hook up with this girl. And the camera pans over to the girl, and the girl's like giving the she's about to face. And it's comedy gold. It's so well done. But that's why Mindy's my favorite character. She has the most funny bits in the entire movie. Like the whole scene with Amber downstairs in the basement with the beer, like I said. Great bits. So Richie's like, I'm gonna go get some beer downstairs. And she's like, you're gonna die if you do that. Okay, wanna come with me? No, I'm not gonna come with you. And he goes, fine, I'll be right back. And then they both go, because it's like, it's the whole thing of don't say you'll be right back. It's funny. It's so funny. This entire movie it's so funny. I can't get over how funny this movie is. I'm sitting here now rethinking about the jokes and how hard they made me laugh. It's a fantastic movie. But as he's downstairs, Mindy's watching the first Stab movie, and there's a recreation of the scene on the movie where I guess Mindy's uncle in this instance, obviously it's not the real Randy, but Randy is watching the show, and this is the whole scene of, Laurie, look behind you. Laurie, look behind you. And the guy's coming up behind. And Mindy is like, look behind you, dude, look behind you. And then Ghostface comes walking out of the room behind her. So it's the character playing Randy in Stab reacting to Halloween saying, Laurie, look behind you, while the Ghostface in Stab is behind him. And then you have Mindy telling him, look behind you, while the Ghostface is behind her. Like, it doesn't get better than that, folks. Not only was that my favorite bit in the first ever Scream movie, but it was also my favorite bit in this movie, and I think it's just so good. Like, you can't go wrong with it. I could talk about it for hours for how good it is. But yeah, she gets attacked by Ghostface. She smacks a pot against his head, I think. He slashes her. And then Samantha comes running in, saving her to the rescue. But then a bunch of people start walking back into the room, and they all think Samantha did it, right? And so Tara and Amber come back and like, oh, you did this to her. And then she's like, no, I didn't. Richie was supposed to be near her. And then Richie comes out of the downstairs. I was getting beer. It wasn't me. And then, Liv comes running and goes, I found Chad, guys. He's dead outside. And they all think she did it. And this is the cool part, because Amber goes, I know you didn't kill Chad. Pulls out a gun and freaking shoots Liv in the head. So Amber's the Ghostface. There's the big reveal. If you hear me say that in this video, that's on you. I told you that spoilers were coming. I guess I should have said that with the whole Dewey thing. Whatever. But yeah, Amber's the Ghostface. But there's two Ghostface. So everyone starts scattering in this house, and, obviously it's implied there's a second Ghostface. Someone says it, and that's when Sydney and Gail roll up to the house. And, right now, I believe Samantha and Richie are in the basement. Tara is stuck with Amber, and Liv is dead, and I don't know where Mindy went. I completely lost track of Mindy at this point. And yeah, Richie does the whole thing of like, well, you can't trust Tara even. What if Tara's the second Ghostface? And so they split up again and go look around. And Samantha finds Tara in an upstairs room in a closet, and she's all taped up and gagged, and she's like, do I cut her free? Do I trust Richie? And the camera cuts away, so you're like, did she release her? So we don't really know if she cut her free or not. But that's when Sydney and Gail show up, and Amber comes running outside. Help me, please! She's like gripping her side, and Gail goes, do you think this is a trap? And Sydney goes, yeah, I think it's a trap. She goes, ugh, y'all are taking too long. Amber pulls out the gun and shoots Gail in the gut. Ooh, not Gail. Gail's fine, obviously, because it's Gail and she's been shot in the side before. And so Gail's left there while Sydney goes into the house. Sydney gets a phone call. It's Ghostface, and she goes around shooting doors while she's talking to Ghostface. There's a whole funny thing of like, I'm bored, and then she hangs up. It's funny, but she shoots the door, and she shoots Richie in the leg. Oh no! And that's not good. But as she's going back down the stairs, something happens with Ghostface. Oh, Ghostface pops out of the closet from behind her and wrestles Sydney, and they fall off the balcony to the ground, and she drops the gun. Sydney drops the gun and goes, Richie, grab the gun, grab the gun. So Richie's coming down the stairs. He's hobbling. He's like, I would go faster if you hadn't shot my leg. Funny bit, right? And then, Tara gets down there, or Samantha gets down there, and, I don't even know what happens at this point. There's so much going on. But Richie gets to the bottom, grabs, Samantha grabs the gun. It's like, yeah, heck yeah, Samantha, stop the ghost face. And then Richie stabs her. It was the boyfriend. There's a whole reference at the beginning of the movie. Dewey says, it could be the boyfriend. And I didn't think it was going to be the boyfriend, because how could the boyfriend have done this all the way in a different town? It'll make sense later. But I was like, there's no way the boyfriend did it. And it was. I knew it was going to be Amber. That was kind of obvious. But yeah, Richie, the boyfriend, is the person, which credit to Marcus. My friend Marcus, who'd never seen a Scream movie before, predicted this. He said, I bet it's going to be Richie, and I bet it's going to be, well, I'll get into what he also said, but he basically said, I bet it's going to be Richie. And he was right, he was. And, maybe it was more obvious in hindsight. I didn't realize it until it happened. I was kind of shocked. But also, there weren't many options left, so I kind of, was like, okay, it probably is him. But yeah, basically, they reveal their entire plan, he and Amber's plan, was they thought stab movies weren't as good as they used to be. They thought Hollywood ran out of material, and that Hollywood needed new material, so they were going to murder people to give them new material. I think it's kind of a weak thing. This is one of the things with the movie that I didn't necessarily like, but it didn't harm it that much. It makes enough sense to where it's fun, They met up on Reddit, which is kind of funny. I thought that was great. And this is that whole, wraparound of toxic fandom. They're willing to kill Sydney and Gail to make this, their movie, make it the movie the fans want to see. Again, quite a weird, not incentive, what's the word? Motive. Quite a weird motive, but in my opinion, it works. So they're all sitting there, they're talking over the motives and stuff, and there's a phone call, and they pick it up, and I think it was a Ghostface voice. Basically, Samantha hadn't listened to Richie, and she did untie Tara. Samantha did untie Tara, and that was good, so Tara comes to the rescue, kind of-ish. I don't even remember what fully happens. I think Tara smacks the absolute crap out of Amber with her, crutches. Tara wasn't a killer, obviously now. There's basically a giant... Sydney and Gail are left with Amber then, after Amber gets back up. So Richie's now fighting. So Amber got knocked out with crutches for a second. Then Richie is starting to fight... I can't remember if Richie fights Samantha or Tara. I think it's Samantha. Richie and Samantha are fighting. And Amber goes into the kitchen to try and kill Gail and Sydney. There's a whole fight there, and they turn on the stove, and this is an insane part, because they shoot Amber, and she falls under the stove and just lights on fire. She literally lights onto fire. It was so good. I lost it. It was great. But yeah, basically, there's this whole joke about, it's time for a passing of the torch. I'm gonna have to kill you, Sydney. And then she gets lit on fire, and Gail goes, how about that for passing the torch? Funny one-liner. I liked it. But yeah, she's dead now. And, so, there's that whole thing. And while that's happening, Samantha's absolutely going to town on Richie. Richie got her to the ground. She sees a knife under a curtain. I think it was too convenient. It was supposed to be Billy's knife. I thought it was way too convenient, but it works because it's the whole idea of she's the psychopath's kid, right? And she goes to town on his gut, just freaking stabbing the ever-living crap out of him. And, she eventually gets the upper hand, and he goes, what about my cool death? And she slits his throat. Nice clean throat slit, right? And then they're sitting there, you know, Sydney and Gail walk up, and they're like, way to go, you did it, you did the thing. And they go, I know I did the thing. I was happy that I did the thing. And, you know, there's a whole joke about comes back for one more scare. So they shoot him so he can't come back. And you're like, okay, so he's not going to come back. Then all of a sudden, frickin' Amber comes running out of the kitchen all on fire and melty looking. And they shoot her. And actually, they don't shoot her. Tara shoots her. Tara shoots her from the side. And that's when it's like, oh, Tara, you're here. I love you so much. And yeah, that's basically the end of the movie. There's a whole wrap-up scene where you get closure for all the characters. Dewey's dead. Gail has to learn to live with that. Gail talks about writing a book about Dewey. Sydney wants to move on and go back to her kids and her husband. And honestly, it's a nice little wrap-up, right? You see that Mindy survived, and so did Chad. I believe it was Chad who survived. Samantha and Tara are back together as sisters. They're not going to leave their side. It's really good. It's a nice chapter ending. I think Scream should end there completely. Like, even the last shot of this movie is a recreation of the last shot of the first movie. And I think that is the best way to end this franchise. I think no one should bring Scream back. I think Scream should be laid to rest. I think it should be, you know, Wes Craven's legacy. I think that Radio Silence brought back Wes Craven in a way that hasn't been done before. And I don't think we need any more Scream movies. This is it. This was for Wes. This was in honor of Wes. Even the credits look like all of his movies. It says for Wes. And I don't want another movie. I think this is a perfect book, closed, open, shut ending, right? This is the nicest way to end the franchise. And I really hope this movie does well in theaters, because I saw this on the 13th at 7:30 p.m. and the tickets said it was sold out, but it was not a filled theater. I mean, which is nice because, you know, less chance of COVID, but I really do hope this is the end. As a Scream fan, as a Wes Craven fan, and as a horror fan, just at the larger end of it, I hope this is the end. It was a wonderful movie, and I think you end on a high note, right? I don't think you keep bringing it back for money, but who knows what they're going to do. There's no way I could see this becoming this, like, I could not see a sequel coming out of this. I think this is the end, and that's the intention. But I guess we'll see. Radio Silence, if you're somehow watching this video, y'all are a big inspiration of mine, and I absolutely loved this movie. You did right by me, and by the whole Scream franchise, and by the whole Scream fan base, and hopefully by Wes Craven even. You made a movie that honors his legacy, and I loved it. It was funny. I laughed. I almost cried. I enjoyed it. It was great. And James and Chelsea, if you're watching this, you're an inspiration for this channel. I liked seeing y'all in this movie, but that's a whole different side topic. But thank you all so very much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. If you did enjoy, leave a comment as well. Tell me your thoughts on Scream, or if you haven't seen it, if you want to see Scream after watching this. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.